Welcome to the Be Good community. Today, we're sort of facing a stark reality, and there's a lot of scary data that keeps coming to us about teacher shortages, about educators leaving the field, and many not even entering it. We also have stark data coming to us from the United States, from the UK, from Canada, that teacher morale is at an all-time low. And we are in peril, if you will, in education. At least that's the narrative. Now, there are some schools, of course, that are doing very well, and there are school districts that are doing very well, school communities that are healthy and thriving. But even internationally, international schools, we find that morale at the school level is getting lower and lower. And this is not just in teachers, but also if you're asking students as well, and parents' confidence in the education process. So what does that all mean? Well, in Be Good Leadership, we have this feeling that really the answer to this is that we've forgotten that school is a people business first and foremost. That learning is a social process. It always has been. Since the dawn of time, since our days in the hunter-gatherer communities, school has always been about, or learning has always been about, social relationships. We learn best when we trust each other, when we feel connected to each other. And it's not just about one domain. It's not just about one group of stakeholders that matters more than the others. In Be Good Leadership, the reason our focus is on building school communities is because it takes thriving school communities to do the best for education. We can save education if we start to think more of the entire picture and building those relationships. And so I want to talk today about some of the keys to what we have in terms of 4 factors that are key in student success. And there are others, but what I want to focus on are the factors that have the most research behind them, but also the ones that we might have as school leaders, as teachers, as part of the school community, the most power to influence and affect. So first, of course, is quality of teaching and instruction. Everyone knows, everyone talks about having a great teacher in front of students is always going to be a benefit and always a plus. We know that great teachers are more than just instructors, right? They're mentors. They create this safe environments for students. They innovate. They respond to the student needs when they need to. They make people feel valued, right? They're always looking for new strategies, whatever the trends may be, whatever the new initiatives may be. Some of our best teachers can be some of the most annoying because they're the ones who are going to be honest with us about, hey, this new trend or this new shiny thing is not actually based in research. It's not actually what moves the needle the most in terms of leading to better student learning. Quality instructors and quality teachers are doing things that are research-backed, but also backed by empirical evidence. And not just education research. They're usually looking into cognitive science. What are we learning about the brain and how it works? And sometimes it looks old school, sometimes it looks new school, but what we do know is that a quality teacher, effective instruction, if we're going to have it, it takes teachers who are researching and looking at their craft as a way to build themselves personally and professionally, and who are self-motivated to continue learning, but also school leaders who are interested in supporting that process and looking to allowing opportunities for professional development and support to those teachers and not burning them out, which we'll talk about some more. The other factor that we know is hugely responsible for quality student learning and good student outcomes, as well as the health of a school community, is parent engagement. Parent engagement is crucial. It's not just about helping kids with homework, but when parents engage in school life, and we've seen this, and this tends to apply across cultures, when parents engage with school life, attending conferences, volunteering, reinforcing sort of the values of education, being on the same page as the schools that their kids are attending, and reinforcing that process, they make a world of difference. So parents are the first teachers of their kids. They're the ones whose support is essential for the child. This is, we know this from the beginning of time, and we know that it's one of the hardest jobs out there. It's hard to tell someone, hey, you're doing it wrong, because all of us are trying to learn and adapt to the children we have. In a way, a parent is like a teacher, right? teachers are trying to adjust to 15 to 30, if you're in the States or public school, sometimes up to 40 kids, and trying to adapt to their different needs. As a parent, you're trying to do that with 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever the size of your family is. But as a school community, we can be less afraid of the parent, because what we find is, and what I found throughout education, is that sometimes teachers are afraid to talk to parents. School leaders are also afraid to communicate with parents. And what this does is it also creates an environment in which parents and the school become sort of adversaries, where the parents sometimes feel that the school is trying to keep their kid from achieving everything they hope to achieve. And this is something that we have to break away from. And the way to do that is more consistent communication. The more consistently we communicate, the more that we invite parents into the process and are transparent in our communication to parents about what we're trying to achieve and the values that we're trying to espouse. And when we stick to some universal values, some things that we all agree on, things like honesty, kindness, gratitude, growth, respect, those kinds of things, and also talk to parents about how we define those things and how we practice them in our schools, and invite the parents to be involved in that. Invite the parents into the school. Invite the parents to have a say in some of those things, and not necessarily influencing the trajectory of the school, because you want to leave that to professionals. But here's the goal. Parents, how can you help in that process? And having that dialogue and that communication builds a stronger school community. The parents have a role to play, and the parents have a responsibility to their children, and we leave that with them. But then we also want a team in that process for building that strong community. Next is a positive school climate. So we know that a positive school climate really matters in terms of building cultures of belonging. And we've had different languages around that. People want to feel like they're valued. People want to feel like they belong. But it's important to all human beings to feel that when they're entering an environment, people want them there. People value their contribution. People believe that they can contribute. And that's not just teachers. Teachers have to feel that. But in a thriving school community, custodians need to feel safe. Cafeteria folks need to feel safe. Students need to feel safe. Everyone, and that's built from top down. That starts with leadership. The positive school climate, leadership plays a huge role. And sometimes it's not acknowledged and not seen, but a toxic environment from the top will bleed down into the teachers. One of my favorite lines is, if you don't feed the teachers, they'll eat the students. And that's what happens when we have a toxic school leadership environment. And so many leaders in schools went straight from being a teacher to being an administrator in a school. And those jobs are completely different. And sometimes they do that with the minimal amount of actual training in terms of how to build relationships. They learn about curriculum. They learn about assessments. They learn about whatever latest trend is being talked about through a lot of different school communities. But what they fail to do is ever really to have a deep dive into human psychology, to learn about what it takes to build a culture of belonging, to learn about feedback, how to give feedback. It's amazing that in schools, we know how important feedback is, but how many school leaders have done a deep dive, reading, practice, and really trying to focus on becoming better at giving feedback. It's about relationships. We want to be task driven. We want to be, hey, just get this done, just get this done, just get this done. But in a school community, everything lives and dies on the quality of the relationships that we ferment. And when we do that, when we do it right, when we build that environment from the top down, positive leadership climate, positive teacher experience leads down into a positive student experience. And when the students are happy, parents are going to be happy as well. Positive school environment and positive school climate matter so much. Now, finally, there's the role of students. For the longest period of time, we have emphasized, and I won't say overemphasized, but I think we've focused on teacher quality to the detriment of all of the other aspects of a school community, which I've talked about a little bit: parent, positive climate, which is set by school leadership. But the other thing that we have failed to acknowledge, and sometimes we don't want to make the decisions we need to make sure that students are taking ownership of their learning. While support from teachers and parents and staff is vital, the students themselves need to set their own goals. The students themselves need to engage in their education. They need to be able to ask for help from teachers. And we don't do enough of educating around and early enough what these behaviors and habits are. And through my experience, some of the courses that I offer, talking to successful students across the board from a host of different countries and nationalities, the consistency from 2001, when I was teaching in public schools in the United States, to 2024, teaching an international school in Saudi Arabia, the consistency, the most consistent thing was students said it's about them. It was about their attitude, about what they brought to the table. It was about taking ownership and responsibility for their learning. And we really need to ask ourselves in schools, because I think that when we talk about why teachers are leaving the profession or why people believe less and less in the profession and what we're doing, there are reports that student behavior is getting worse. There is less accountability for the students, which makes it harder for everyone else. I'm not saying you need to be the toughest disciplinarian, but what I am saying is that every student has to take ownership for their part, that we need to expect high standards from our students. My grandfather used to tell me that basically people who really love you and care for you will expect more from you. And it's very easy to mistake a lack of caring with being cool. Because sometimes the cool teacher doesn't actually care. And so, is very, very lenient on a whole host of things. But building resilience, building work ethic, building these competencies and this confidence, real confidence that's gained from actual success, actual effort, building those things apply across school and far beyond when school is over, into professional life, into personal life. And so every school needs to really be thinking about, are the policies that we're integrating, are the things that we're doing, are we taking ownership away from students? Are we, while there of course needs to be the emphasis on teacher accountability, teachers have to do their job, yes. School leadership needs to do their job. Parents have a role to play, and parents actually play into this. Does the student take ownership? I actually think it's actually the school and the parents, the policies and the parents. Are we building students who can take responsibility, take ownership, who learn to actually meet deadlines, who learn to actually put their best effort in, who learn that putting their best effort in will not always lead to the highest grade or to winning every competition or whatever you call it. Sometimes your best effort will lead you to a particular point, and you will have to learn from those mistakes to grow forward. The ability to do what you don't want to do because it needs to be done. Some of those things where we have grown to maybe some of our ways of going about things, some of the things that we've learned to tolerate as schools, and some of when we think we're being compassionate, sometimes we're actually not. When we think that we're being nice or I don't know. I think sometimes we believe that the kids can't take it. We're putting too much pressure on them and everything else. I don't believe in overworking a child, but I do believe that, as my grandmother once said, you're helping that boy out so much, you're killing him. If you like that video, be sure to visit our website at begoodleadership.org, where you will find resources for every type of educational professional there is. Learn how to teach better, learn how to lead better, and to cement stronger relationships. Be Good Leadership, where we're building school communities that focus on performance as well as deep humanity. Please be sure to check out so many free resources that we have for you. Sign up for our newsletter and be good.